All right, hey everyone. I'm here with the man who needs no introduction, Shane Danger Coleman, Mr. Maffa. Works for Coral Essentials, works for Sustainable Reef, and here at the Marine Expo at Melbourne Showgrounds for 2020. It's not actually the Marine Expo, it's the Underwater Pet Expo. Shane's done a few talks. We've been walking around all the booths, chatting with heaps of distributors, heaps of suppliers. There's people selling corals, there's people selling planted tanks. Wanted to sit down with Shane, just have a bit of a chat, get his thoughts on the event and where he wants to take some really innovative areas in the marine scene, because his latest topic of interest is saltwater plants. There we go. So
yeah, not so much your macroalgae or Ketomorphia or Calopa or anything like that. I took a bit of an interest in saltwater plants after mangroves finally becoming legal in Australia to have. So that was pretty exciting. It was a reef stop last year.
Yeah.
Monsoon Aquatics up in Darwin and Bundaberg and Cairns. We basically got onto Dan from Monsoon, and he's been able to secure legally collected mangrove propagulls, or your seed pods. So I showed extreme interest in that, so I think I was one of the first people to get my hands on those. So they're growing really well, and it got me thinking, what other plants will grow in full 35 part per thousand salinity salt water? And I was always seeing some estuary plants and things like that, so it got me interested and did a little bit of research. I still have a lot to go, but I've found a few plants. I won't go scientific names probably, but Sesuvium or sea purslane. There's it's like a little succulent, and I've got that one growing in full salt water at the moment. It has a really nice little flower. There's all sorts though. I think I've found about 40 species so far that will grow in full salt water. So the new build of Black Box Reef is going to be focused on a estuary to reef sort of system. So I'm building a fiberglass pond, which is nearly finished, which will be plumbed into a water box 130.4 reef, and that will be full reef. But the main focus of that, what I'm focusing now on, is the saltwater plants. I'm not using it as nutrient export, it's purely aesthetics. I've just fallen in love with this other aspect of marine keeping, and I don't think it's been done before really ever. I've spoken to a few people that knew of the saltwater plants, but I don't know of anyone that's actually kept a full pond full of them. So I'm really excited to get it going.
And are you going to be keeping fish in with the saltwater plants, or are the two systems separate?
It's linked via the plumbing, so the overflow from the pond will flow back into the sump of the water box tank. Yep. And there'll be a split return pump. It's going to be the beers that I've had there. That'll feed both tanks. So it's the same body of water. Yep. So there's no arguments that it's running in full 35 part, and I'll see how I can go with that. It's going to be quite experimental, but the plants that I've got growing already are growing at the Sustainable Reef's Coral Farm, and that's in a 35 part reef system, so there's no reason that they won't work in an aquarium either.
What substrate do you need for mangroves and other saltwater plants? Because most reefers would be familiar with the substrate we typically use being granular sand with then rock, which transforms into live rock as bacteria colonizes it and the corals start growing on it. But for saltwater plants, I understand it's a little different.
Yeah, so you can use a variety of different substrates for it. I've got one of them I've tried to mimic. The Sesuvium or sea purslane that's growing in just silica, like beach sand, at the moment, and that's growing quite well, but it needs to settle. A lot of nutrient needs to settle in because it actually has none. But the substrate that I'll actually be using in the pond is a product by Two Little Fishies, and that was after chatting to Julian Sprung, the owner of Two Little Fishies. It's called Refugite, and I think it's similar to Eco Reef Base, which is an Australian product as well, which I've used before, but I thought I'd give the Refuge a go because Julian Sprung designed it specifically for mangroves, and it's got all of the right nutrients in it that mangroves need to grow. So, and the minerals and that. So I thought I'll give that a go. I'm going to use about a 1 inch layer in the bottom of the pond. So it's about 8 litres worth.
Fantastic. And obviously with growing coral, we all know what kind of lighting we need for that. We're predominantly blue spectrum. What kind of lighting are you going to be using over the aquarium plants?
I'm going to use Kessel A360X Tuna Suns.
So the tuna suns, that's the one they typically sell for the freshwater.
For freshwater scenes, yeah. So it's just, I'm going to sort of mount a couple of them above there. I've also got another Kessel, an older model 160 Amazon Sun, which is much similar to the tuna sun, but it's I might use that if the plants get too bushy or if it's ever becomes successful and I need to add more light, I'll use that as well.
Well, I can't wait to see this grow out. I'm really looking forward to watching the journey. If you want to follow Shane's tank, it's Black Box Reef on Facebook.
Yeah, Black Box Reef.
Yep.
It's scrolling right back. It goes back to about 2014 or 2015 from when I started the original page, but that's got a lot of old tank information. I do the odd review here and there, but it's mainly just a place for me to store the progress so I can go back and have a look at it, but I also like sharing it with others. And
I've really enjoyed watching the journey of you building the pond itself out of fiberglass and all of that, because
it's not something.
It's a learning curve for everyone watching as well, because it's not something you actually get to see every day, and I think the results are looking fantastic.
Yeah, it's looking quite natural. It's one minor screw up of and it was, if you were just watching, I sort of put up a video the other week that it was nearly finished. Well, the weir height is a bit too tall, and it's gonna one of the lower points in the front wall of the fake rock structure.
Yeah.
It's gonna overflow the front before it overflows the rear, and I don't know how I didn't pick up on that, but it's just a little cut down job with fiberglass, and it'll be done.
Awesome.
Yeah. And after that, I can start putting the water box tank together. I can't wait. It's a great looking tank, so
yeah,
I can't wait to actually get that rolling.
Well, who knows what the future holds for the marine aquarium hobby, and I think saltwater plants are a really good way to go in terms of pushing the boundaries of the hobby.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see whether, given that you'll have a linked system, and with the other systems growing coral, SBS, and that, I assume, of course, you'll be dosing Black Label, Chroma, Vibrance into this system. I want to see, will Chroma colour up mangroves?
Yeah, bright yellow.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty interesting and fun to see. But thanks so much, Shane.
No worries.
It's been awesome chatting with you.
Yeah.
And we're here at the Melbourne Underwater Pet Expo, and it's fantastic. We'll be putting up lots of videos. Yeah.
Excellent turnout.
Yeah.
So can't wait for tomorrow as well.
Awesome. All right. Cheers.
Cool.